Quarterback Sam Darnold just released an emotional statement on his time as a Viking, with many believing this to be his way of saying goodbye to Minnesota. And a top NFL draft analyst projects a defensive blue chip first round pick for the team this spring. We're going to be breaking down all of that in this episode of Vikings Digest, but first make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you don't miss any updates surrounding the Vikings as we head through the beginning stages of what should be a critical offseason for the organization. And with that, let's hop into the first topic today, which is Darnold thanks Vikings and fans. So in an Instagram post he had earlier today or the other day, if whenever you guys are watching this, he says, "Year 7, so grateful for my teammates, coaches, and the entire organization. We created memories and relationships that will last a lifetime, and we got to do it in front of the best fan base in the world. Hashtag Skol." Now this is fairly emotional, but in so many few words, just because of what he brought to this team this season and how special it was. He didn't have to go full on into it, but he did say enough where people are kind of hanging on this, saying that this is his way of saying goodbye to Minnesota, just with the way that it's worded. I know it's not fully indicative of that. However, when we've seen in the past when players post about things like this, it is kind of indicative of them already being 1 foot out the door, or at least expecting not to be back this season. We've seen it whether it's in press conferences or in social media posts or with just regular interviews in the media with one-on-one interviews or things like that. It's one of these things where you are anticipating it. We had a great season with Darnold, don't get me wrong. It was one of those seasons where he was brought in on a 1-year deal. He was brought in for a specific reason when JJ McCarthy was not able to make the start. Unfortunately, it was due to an injury that he wasn't able to play. But Sam Darnold still treated it the same way nevertheless, where he said, "Hey, I got this chip on my shoulder. I was brought in on a 1-year deal. I was brought here to do a job, bring a Lombardi to Minnesota, and my job is to try and do that." Unfortunately, the job was not completed, and he was not able to get us to that Super Bowl or bring home the Lombardi. We were, unfortunately, another victim of an early round exit for Minnesota Vikings history. That will go down with a lot of the other years where someone on Reddit, I wasn't initially going to put this in here, but it did kind of ring true and had me thinking for quite a second where if you're a true long haul Vikings fan, you're lying if you didn't say this was one of the most exciting seasons of the last 30 years. Yeah, we're still without a ring, but 2022, 2017, 2012, 2009, 1998, all great vintages of Vikings football. Add 2024. And as much as we are upset that we could not get the job done, whether it was because of Sam Darnold, because of poor defensive play calling with blitzing too much, because of situational play calling on offense that we could not get over, because of other offensive line play that could not live up to certain pass rushes, there was a lot of things as to why Minnesota couldn't get it done. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that despite not getting the job done when we were on a run that we should have been able to at least go further than we did, it was still a fun season. We still have a lot of exciting moments to look back on and remember fondly as Vikings fans. We had that 97-yard Justin Jefferson touchdown against the Niners. We had Aaron Jones with a lot of his touchdowns. Andrew Van Ginkel with his pick 6 in the first week of the season, welcoming himself to Minnesota. Dallas Turner having a great rookie season. All of our defensive celebrations that we had in the end zone with Cam Bynum leading the way with those. There were so many things to look back on with this Vikings season that we're going to remember for a long time. Unfortunately, it is going to go down with those seasons as one of those seasons where we didn't get the job done. We had a great season, but in the postseason when it mattered most, we could not get the job done or go the distance or at least even get to the dance against one of the AFC teams for the Super Bowl. But this was a loss that the Vikings needed to have, and it opened their eyes up to the things with Sam Darnold. Even in the press conference, Kevin O'Connell talking about Sam Darnold. He was talking as if he was already gone. Sam Darnold now coming out with this. It seems like it is not going to be a sign of, it seems like it's going to be a sign of him not being back with Minnesota next season. And it makes sense for all the reasons that we've covered in our other videos. So if you guys want to go check those out, you can see what exactly we think of the Sam Darnold take from me and from Kirk, where we talked about Sam Darnold versus Daniel Jones versus JJ McCarthy and even Aaron Rodgers with our past few videos as well with that possibility. But when you look at the teams too that are favored to get Sam Darnold, aside from the Vikings, who are still the favorites to sign him, you got the Raiders, Giants, Steelers, Saints, Jets, and Seahawks. I could see him going to definitely the Raiders and the Giants. The Jets would be a very funny touch of irony, especially if Aaron Rodgers comes to Minnesota. But if you guys are looking at these teams, which ones do you think Darnold is most likely to sign with if it is not Minnesota? And would you guys bring back Darnold to Minnesota next season on another 1-year deal or a longer term deal or just a franchise tag? Let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. But that's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is Daniel Jeremiah projects Malachi Starks to the Vikings. So we see here in a headline that NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah, one of the lead draft analysts and scouts, first NFL mock draft sends Minnesota Vikings intriguing blue chip prospect. Now, when we look at the track record with the Vikings in drafting, they have a track record of getting blue chip players in the early 20s of the draft. Just in the last 5 drafts, the Vikings have selected receiver Justin Jefferson at 22nd, left tackle Christian Darrisaw at number 23, and wide receiver Jordan Addison also at number 23. So, and when you look at all the other things too with the draft approaching, the Vikings face a pivotal choice regarding their first round pick. As stalwart Harrison Smith ages and impending free agency looms for Cam Bynum and pretty much the entire rest of our secondary, the need for future-proof safety becomes apparent. While the prospect of selecting yet another safety from Georgia may raise some eyebrows among fans, Starks emerges as a safe bet as a player with the potential to solidify the Vikings' defensive backfield for years to come. In the intricate dance of NFL draft maneuvering, the Vikings' interest in Malachi Starks symbolizes a strategic move towards fortifying their defensive core. As the draft drama unfolds, all eyes are on Minnesota, waiting to see if Starks will indeed don the iconic purple and gold jersey, bringing his talent and tenacity to the NFL stage. And this is also coming just after the recent release of Louis Cine, marking the end of an era for the Vikings, signaling a shift in their defensive lineup. However, according to Jeremiah, Minnesota is considering adding another Georgia safety to their roster with that 24th overall pick, and that the Vikings will select Malachi Starks. Starks was a standout high school prospect and has garnered praise for his intangibles, leadership skills, relentless work ethic, and more. Despite a slightly quieter performance in 2024, his versatility in playing both deep coverage and slot assignments makes him a coveted asset for NFL teams. His impressive career at Georgia, coupled with a solid grade from Pro Football Focus, underscores his potential impact at the professional level. And Starks is one of those guys that we haven't really talked about really until this kind of popped up. And he's a guy that's very intriguing. He's ranked as the number 4 overall player, was ranked in that class of 2022, and has proven his mettle on the field, amassing significant playing time and delivering consistent performances. His defensive prowess, evident through tackles, pass breakups, and interceptions, showcases adaptability and playmaking ability. As one of the premier safeties in the upcoming draft class, Starks presents a compelling option for teams seeking defensive reinforcement. And one person who is really going to have a lot of fun with that would be Brian Flores having that. And with a lot of people saying that if Starks tests well, he might end up playing outside corner as well. So that versatility is something Brian Flores would love to have at his disposal. Even with Josh Metellus being that jack of all trades player, you can still bring in Starks and have a lot of fun doing so. I really like the idea of this, and you guys have even been in the comments saying that when we were talking about them going after Ashton Jeanty or Caleb Johnson in the first round, and then even waiting for Scadaboo in the third round, I think Scadaboo in the third round is going to be the most likely of that, especially if they go with what a lot of you guys are suggesting too, a defensive tackle or a corner or a safety, because Harrison Smith, he's getting up there in age. He was still efficient this year, not as efficient as his prime, obviously, and he is considering retirement. So that's going to be something that the Vikings have to watch out for. You got Cam Bynum as well. That's a big piece you need to bring back. If you can have Bynum and Starks as the future for this Minnesota Vikings secondary backfield, I really like that going forward, because Cam Bynum, he goes without saying what he means to this team, morale standpoint, skill standpoint, locker room, everything in between. He is one of those universal players that we need to have on this Vikings roster as long as possible. So you bring in a guy like Starks, has a nice lot of upside rookie to go with that. I think it'd be a really cool pairing to have them if Harrison Smith is not able to come back. Even if Harrison Smith comes back, have that be his successor waiting in the wings for if Harry gets injured, God forbid, or if Harry just can't finish the season, or if he starts showing aging really badly next season, you can plug him in and give the offense something different to look at and something that they have to adjust for if you put Starks in. And when you look at Starks' stats too, with his time at Georgia, had a decent season in the past few seasons, got 77 tackles last season, 52 the season before that, 69 the season before that, and decent amount of picks there as well, with the total of 6 coming in his college career. No sacks or forced fumbles, but this is a Minnesota Vikings defense where we had a takeaway in every single game last season. We were the only team to do that. So I don't doubt that if he comes to this Vikings team, he's going to be getting a lot of picks and a lot of fumbles to come, and potentially some sacks with the way that Brian Flores likes to run this blitz on this defense. But what do you guys think down in the comments below of the possibility of the Vikings going and drafting Malachi Starks? Is there a different DB or safety that you would like for them to go out and get? Let us know what you guys have to say down in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Vikings Digest. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that bell icon so you don't miss the new episodes when they drop. But with that, I've been your host, Griffen. Take care.